You're listening to Paris: A State of Mind on Paris Underground Radio.
Welcome to Paris: A State of Mind. Join us as we talk about the good, the bad, the ins, the outs of property rentals and purchases in and around Paris. We'll have topics for renters, owners, and visitors, share questions we are regularly asked, and more. My name is Gail Boisclair of Perfectly Paris, and my co-host is Marie Pistinier of Lokim Paris. Be a part of it. Both of us are proud members of the SPLM, the first representative body of furnished rental professionals. Hey Marie, how are you today?
Hi Gail, I'm very fine. How are you doing?
I am fine as well, and looking forward to our next episode. We've been so busy. We've talked about so many different things, and I didn't know even where to start. But I remember back in episode 10, we were talking about taxes, and I think that there was a tax that we didn't go into great detail about, and it's a tax on a vacant property or an empty property. So why don't we talk about that today?
Perfect. Great idea.
And firstly, I think when we're talking about this tax, isn't it related to the taxe d'habitation, the one that is based on who is living in the apartment as of January the 1st?
Yes, you're right. It's a part of the taxe d'habitation information we can get.
And so, okay, but then why is this tax in place?
In fact, the tax on the vacant property has been set up to make sure that people are not only investing in stones, like you purchase a property and then you know that basically it will the price per square meters will increase year after year after year, and to make sure that people are actually doing their best in order to get tenants inside so they can have people coming in the cities.
Okay, so you are saying even if the property is empty, there's still a tax that has to be paid. And that tax, what we're talking about today, is a tax on vacant property. What is that called then in French so people can recognize it on their tax bill?
So the name is Taxe sur les logements vacants, or the TLV, or the Taxe d'habitation sur les logements vacants, THLV. And it's not a sandwich of some kinds, it's not like a BLT or something. It's completely far from that.
And it's not like TLC, tender loving care.
Yeah, exactly. So it depends really on first how long the property has been empty and where it is located. For example, in Paris and in many cities above 200,000 person, we consider that as 10 zone tendue. So if this place has been empty for a year minimum, then you will have to pay the additional tax, the TLV. On the other hand, if your property is not in a zone tendue, like for example in other region or small town and everything, then you will pay this tax only if it has been vacant from 2 years. And we call that the THLV, la taxe d'habitation sur les logements vacants.
Oh.
So it's really a difference depending on the time of vacancy and the type of cities you are living in, your property is in.
Gee, this is a little bit complicated, and it all sounds like tongue twisters to me. Do you know Betty Botter bought some butter? Okay, no tongue twisters. Anyway, but okay, so how does the government know this? And how is it possible, or is there any way that people can avoid paying this tax on vacant properties?
So, in fact, in order to know if it was vacant or no, in fact, the tax systems, the Trésor Public, is considering all the other information they have. So if there was previously an owner who was paying his taxe d'habitation for himself, or if there is a tenant who was living in this property, and then the year after there is no taxes paid on these properties in particular, they know that at a certain point there is no one inside. And so after a year or 2 years, they could easily they get all the data in order to see if it was rented or not. And the second question you asked me was if it was possible to avoid paying this tax in some way. In fact, yes, you can. If you prove that it's not vacant on purpose, that you didn't leave it vacant for an investment, for example, but you have to be very specific.
Like what sort of proof is needed by the government to waive this then?
in fact, you will bring, you have to bring documents. So it can be, for example, like if you work with an agent, you can bring the mandat, like the document which proves that you gave him you gave the agent the right to look for a tenant. Maybe the agent didn't find someone. Maybe it was not the time. There was thing that you could, but you did the effort in order to try to have something. You can copy the ads that you did put online if you don't work with an agent, or you can, for example, prove that you have had some work, renovation done, for example. So you can prove by the invoices, maybe the quotations with the date of the work that has to be done. Maybe you had, like, for example, if it was vacant because you had a leak and a problem, like the time it has to be dry and everything. This can be information. And of course, the lockdown, for example, many owners for the first lockdown we had in France were able to waive some of the taxes just by proving that it was completely impossible to rent the property, so it was not done on purpose.
Well, that's kind of crazy, though, because imagine, too, if it's empty 11 months, too bad for you, right? So don't rent it out for that very last month. Then you can avoid paying the tax.
Yeah.
Oh, well, too bad. And how do you provide this information to the government? Do you have to go there in person? Can you do that online? Or if you have on the website Impo, the tax portal website, can you do it that way?
You do have to do it online because you can eventually send a letter, like with registered letter, we said, like where you have a proof that it was sent and with all the documents. And you can also, and most of the time you do that online on the official website, impo.gouv.fr. And this is where you could put everything. Another thing that we could add is that, for example, they give you this and they ask you to pay with a deadline. You can pay even though you do believe that you are not supposed to, but it can give you some time to then after send the proof, and then you can be reimbursed if you overpaid.
So I guess the most important thing is to make sure you pay your taxes. And, even if you feel you have a legitimate reason not to pay it, just pay it and hope that you get it back. I think actually they're pretty good. Did you just hear that loud ring in my ear?
Yeah, a little beep.
So did I. I think I'm deaf now. Sorry, everyone. No, I guess the most important thing is, to pay your taxes on time.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you don't, then you will have like additional fee that they will charge you. So it's better to pay and then to comment and to try to avoid that, like proving that you are not supposed to. Unless you do that once as soon as you receive the request for the payment, if it's not automatic on your account, then you may have some time in order to do that, and they are pretty active and fast to answer. But if you see that the schedule is a bit tight, then pay and then do a request in order to be reimbursed.
If you're enjoying this episode of Paris, A State of Mind, you may also be interested in our sister podcast, Paris Undressed. Join Kate as she guides women to celebrate themselves through their bodies. Paris, A State of Mind will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And now back to Paris, A State of Mind. And I don't know if you know, this is maybe my last question. How do they calculate it? Is it kind of similar to taxe d'habitation calculations for the vacant property?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't invent the wheel. They do that on the. What I don't know is that what would be if it was exactly the same as if you would pay a taxe d'habitation. Because now the taxe d'habitation, a lot of people are waived on that. And also that on the taxe d'habitation, there is a little portion, I think, that remains based on your incomes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but basically the size of the property, where it is located, will be part of the calculation that they are going to do.
Oh, wow.
And in that case, you prefer to have the size, the droit carré, like the smaller one, in order to do not pay too much.
Yeah. That's a whole topic. That's a whole episode. The real size of an apartment.
Yeah.
And the unreal size.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I think I got it.
Perfect. So, was it clear enough for you?
It was. It was pretty clear. And I guess the main thing is that you have to, keep all your proof, because if you are doing it on your own and you're trying to rent it out, I guess if you're trying to do it on a website or if you're trying to do it on social media or however you're doing it, keep a copy of everything. So then you can say, I tried my darndest to rent it out, but impossible. So I guess, as always, keep everything. Paperwork, 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 paperwork.
Exactly.
Well, this was a short but sweet episode, but I think it was very good, and I hope people will find it very good as well.
Yes, I'm sure. Have a good day, Gail. Talk
Thanks.
to you soon.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Paris, A State of Mind, featuring Gail of Perfectly Paris and Marie of Loquim, both who are founding members of the SPLM. Paris, A State of Mind is produced by Paris Underground Radio. The music, Jazz in Paris, is by Media Right Productions. For more information on this show and others, go to parisundergroundradio.com.
This episode of Paris, A State of Mind was produced by Jennifer Garrity for Paris Underground Radio. For more on this show and shows like it, please visit parisundergroundradio.com.